Hello and welcome, Aquarister here, back with another video, and today we are looking at my Light Armor Fire Staff build. Now, this build is designed to be able to be used with multiple different artifacts, but today I'm going to show it specifically with the Ice Gauntlet artifact. Before we fully get into today's video, I do just want to say if this video helps you out, or if you just like it, please drop it a like. It really helps me out a lot. And if you want to see more content like this, including more build videos, loot videos, stuff like that, definitely subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification if you do want to be notified when those videos go up. I also stream throughout the week on Twitch as well as YouTube, so definitely stop by a stream, say hello, lurk, anything like that. We would love to have you. But let's get into today's video. Alright, so to get us started, as always, we are going to take a look at the gear. So with my hat, I am still wearing the Grey Wizard's hat, which I did end up putting ice harnessing since I do run Ice Gauntlet typically a bit more than Fire Staff. So the ice harnessing just applies a lot more to most of my builds, but in this case, it does still apply towards our secondary. Chest piece, I have Elemental Version Fire Harnessing Refreshing. You know, having some extra stacks of Refreshing obviously isn't that bad as long as you don't go over the 4 stacks. On my gloves, I ended up crafting these, having Elemental Version Fire Harnessing and Health. I was really happy with this craft. I went for Elemental Version Fire Harnessing, ended up getting Health, so I was pretty happy with that. On the pants, we have Fire Harnessing, Refreshing, Health, pretty straightforward. And then on the boots, Fire Harnessing, Physical Aversion, and Health. So we do get a stack of Physical Aversion on top of the extra Elemental Aversion that we've got on some of the other pieces. For the jewelry, I'm still wearing the same amulet with the Health, Divine, and Thrust Protection, full con. For the ring, we're wearing the Hardy Fire Damage Purifying Heart, which I do use the Purifying Heart more than I thought I would, honestly. And then for my earring, the Healthy Toast, Refreshing Toast, Nimble, which with my mage builds especially, it's nice because those mana pots, I'm taking them just for the mana, and then I get an extra burst of HP as well. So sometimes I will even just use the mana pots for the HP, but typically it's like I'm burning through enough mana at all times that I'm drinking a lot of them. So this works out really, really well for most of my builds that require mana, or even those that don't, but since it's full int, it does help a lot with that. As for the weapons, this is the Fire Staff that I crafted, and at the time of recording, I do know that Fireball is going to be seeing a nerf coming up. I'm not positive how big of a nerf. They did say it's going to be pretty minor, I believe, but I'm not sure what all is going to be done to it. But I do have Empowering Fireball, Flame Attunement, and then I actually got lucky and got Keenly Jagged on it. I'm really, really happy with this. It works great for PvP and PvE, so it's a really good all-around Fire Staff. And then currently I am running Deep Freeze, which with Deep Freeze, I ended up putting Unending Thaw on it. So then I can use that on a bunch of different builds. Because with Deep Freeze, I'm pretty much always going to be utilizing it with an Ice Storm. And so then this allows me to then use it with my other builds, like my Musket and stuff like that. And then for the Heart Rune, it's totally up to you as far as what you want to run. I'm still running Bio Bomb. Gives me a disease then that I can use as well. And with Fire Staff, I do tend to get my Heart Rune back pretty quickly. Now with this build, before we move on to the Mastery and Attributes, I do just want to say that with the way I have it set up, you can actually swap out the artifact. So I can swap it out to the Abyss, Pestilence, even Scorpion Sting. Because it's running with Magnify like this, I actually don't have to respec or anything. So depending on what I want to run for a secondary, I can just swap that in and out. Works really, really well. So I've been happy with the way it's working. Definitely see how, you know, it works out based on the gear that you get and all that. But being able to swap out the artifact whenever I want to, depending on what I need for a secondary, is really, really nice. Okay, so as you can see, it's a pretty straightforward attribute layout. I have pretty much full int with some con, and I run 150 con personally with a 48 con food to bump me up to the 200 points, so then I can get that 10% extra armor. Now, if you don't happen to have the 48 con food or don't want to pay for it, you can definitely use a lower attribute food, and then just adjust your attributes accordingly to make it so you get up to that 200 point. I have tried 150 and it's fine, but 200 just feels a lot better for me because then I can be a little bit more aggressive with my burnouts and stuff like that. Or if I'm running Abyss, it just gives me a little bit of extra, you know, armor so I can stay in the fights a little bit longer with the melee. But definitely kind of up to you on how you want to lay it out, but I do recommend the 200 con if you can get there. All right, next, let's go take a look over at the actual weapon mastery. Taking a look over at the weapon mastery here. We'll start with the Fire Staff. So this build, it took me a little bit. I tried a few different ways of running it, and this is kind of what I landed on that's been working really well for me. And as you can see for the abilities, we got Burnout, Fireball, and Pillar of Fire. Now with the Pillar of Fire and Fireball, I actually chose not to go to the last point here. With this, it's just a mana and a cooldown. So you get 10% of your max mana, which honestly wouldn't be all that bad depending on how you want to run it. And then you do get an ability cooldown with it. And then with the Pillar of Fire, you would get 15% of your max mana per enemy hit by Pillar of Fire. Now, this build does burn through your mana quite quickly, but I opted out of going for the mana regen and decided to go for just more damage output overall. So what we have is we have a cooldown reduction based on our heavy attack, so that's also why I kind of decided to not worry about it with the meatball. We have Clear Mind, so we get 5% in power above 50%. Light and heavies apply our smolder. The clear casting, so after not taking damage from an attack in the last 3 seconds, deal 5% more damage, so that's pretty straightforward. We have Spell Singer or Spell Slinger. Your fire staff abilities gain an extra 10% chance to crit strike. We have Prophet of a Fire God. While holding a fire staff, your critical strike damage is increased by 15%. So that those two perks do go hand in hand. Very important to have, I would say. And then we also have Flare. So heavy attacks now trigger a 1 meter splash on impact, but the damage is reduced to 110%. So the splash is really, really nice. I still run it. You could try it with or without, depending on how you want to run it, but I do like having the splash there. And then, of course, we do run Rune, so then when we lead with an attack or with an ability, then we get that Rune, which gives us the 20% increase in damage when we're standing within it. Now, on the Pyromancer side, we have Pyromania, so all attacks deal 10% increased damage against targets with Burn or Smolder, which we kind of have to go with in order to work down the tree, but it is a pretty necessary perk in my opinion. Let it burn, so whenever a fire staff smolder effect deals damage, gain 10% fortify. So it's just a little bit of defensive extra, armor for us, which honestly is not a bad thing, as opposed to going with heat up, which I wasn't too much of a fan of, dodging through just to apply the smolder stacks. We have Kindle, which just applies, or the smolder effects just last 20% longer, which again, the longer we can have that fire last for, the more ticks of damage it's going to do. And then for the last passive perk, we have Watch It Burn. So any critical strike with our fire staff abilities will apply a stack of smolder. So really, really nice to have, especially if you burn out through a group, meatball, anything like that. It's going to apply that smolder to them. So really, really nice to have that on your abilities. And then for burnout, we do go all the way down to the explosion, because the explosion is actually pretty nice to have. If you can time it right and hit someone at the very end, it does do a good deal of damage to them. So this is the fire staff build, though. I've been really happy with it. Like I said, I've tried some different ones. I tried it with the mana regen, and the mana regen, I will say, is really nice. But being that I have the Grey Wizard hat, I've got 200 mana, and mana pots are cheap and easy enough to use, so I just pound down mana pots and just kind of make it work without all the extra mana, restoration or whatever. So this is how I like it, but you can definitely, if you feel like your mana consumption is like way too bad and you just need something, you could definitely do Spell Focus, or any 3 of these that increase that mana amount that you're getting. But personally, I just drink a lot of mana pots and regen pots, and I'm fine as far as my mana goes. And then real quick, we're just going to go over the Ice Gauntlet build. Because with this build, or with the fire staff, I've been running Spike and been pretty happy with it. Because I can't go the full pylon tree with the artifact, because I want to make sure I have the ultimate chill. So I just go with Spike, Storm, Shower, and then for passive perks, Defiant Freeze, so I do get a Fortify with that. And then I just go with Quick Frost as opposed to blocking Stam. I never block with my Ice Gauntlet, so I just go with Quick Frost. And then for my passive perks on this side, we go with Cold Reach, so increase damage of basic attacks by 15% for targets within 15 meters. So if you kind of go for an Ice Storm into a heavy attack, does a little bit more damage, and then it also will do the Root since we have Heavy Freeze. And then Critical Frost, so we just increase that crit damage. So I can do an Ice Storm or Ice Shower with a Spike, and then just increases that crit chance when hitting an enemy in the frosted area. So it works pretty good for me. And then we obviously have to have Ultimate Chill, so then we can chill targets utilizing our Ice Gauntlet abilities, which then works with the Deep Freeze with the deep freeze ice gauntlet. So you do want to make sure that you do have this, because otherwise it's only frozen and rooted if you don't have, the chilled effect on them. So once we have the chilled enemies, then we're doing that extra damage with both our weapons. So it works out really, really well. But that's kind of what I'm looking at as far as my mastery and with the 2 weapons go. Again, I do utilize different artifacts as well, which I'm not going to go into all the different artifacts and how I run them with this build, because I change it up from time to time, even within those. But with the Ice Gauntlet, this build with the Ice Storm, Shower, and Spike has worked really, really well for me. All right, so that is it for the build itself. Next, I have a little bit of gameplay for you guys to watch, so enjoy some gameplay of my Fire Staff build. All right, that is going to do it for today's video. So thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Fire Staff has been fun to play lately for Season 4, and I know a lot of people are running, their flamethrower builds and stuff like that, but this is the build that I've really enjoyed, and I've liked it for quite a while now, so it was kind of fun to bring it back for Season 4. So hopefully you two are having fun with your builds out there. But that is going to do it for today's video, so until next time, I'll see you guys later.